Okay, let's talk about the current state of the UFO UAP topic in the halls of Congress in the American government. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and smash the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And of course, comment below and let me know what you think about all of this. So in the following video, I'm going to share some thoughts some comments by Garry Nolan and James Fox, both who have some inside access into what is actually going on in Washington, D.C. And they say some pretty interesting things concerning things like crash retrievals and whistleblower protection, even some of the woo-woo stuff. So let's just get right into it. Here is what James Fox had to say, and then I'll give some comments.
As I just stated, I just spent the last 5 weeks. I just got back 10 days ago from Washington, D.C., and I got an insider's perspective on what's happening right now, today, as we speak. And it's quite, I felt like I just got back from watching a sci-fi thriller or something, everyone's like, oh, how was your trip to DC? It's like, well, do you really want to know? What's happening behind the scenes, well, and even in front of the scenes is pretty remarkable, right? We've got the new legislation, and I'll get to your question in a minute. We got the new legislation that was signed into law late December of 2022. So basically the 2023 legislation, U.A.P. legislation. It was a bipartisan effort from Marco Rubio and Senator Gillibrand, Representative Gallego and Gallagher, and a handful of others. And what it basically does is formation of a new U.A.P. task force, ARROW, run by Sean Kirkpatrick. They've got this language that talks about crash recovered debris, which is phenomenal. I mean, I was addressing this with insiders about it. Like anyone can go download it and read it. But basically talking about UFO crash material. And obviously, we had the congressional hearings last year that Representative Andre Carson put together. And there was the Wilson memo brought up crash material. There was previous cases with UFOs and nukes that we covered in the phenomenon. Don't know if they brought up Rendlesham Forest. I don't think they did, but that's also nuke related. And I met with intelligence folks that had just met with Kirkpatrick and met with Senate Intel, and they couldn't share every single detail because it was classified, but they did with them, sort of as a precautionary measure that if their testimony went into ARROW and never came out, they could have a backup plan going public and saying, look, I gave testimony to the Senate Intel, I gave testimony to, and what they're basically saying is that these programs exist, these reverse engineered programs exist. And again, this is what they shared with me was
are they currently employed? The intelligence folks that were speaking?
Some of them were, yes. Right. And some of them were retired, but no, a lot of them were still employed.
Wow.
Don't take it from me. And I had this on camera just recently. Don't take it from me. Don't take my testimony, but I'm here to tell you, this is the name of the program. This is the location of the program. These are the names of the individuals involved with the programs. And if you give me the credentials or the security clearance, I'll walk you into the labs. And that's happening right now in Washington, D.C. And I've seen the photographs, these guys' credentials, not one, not two, not three, but over more than three. And they're telling me about their friends that are also testifying. So there's a lot going on. The question is whether Kirkpatrick is who's he going to share it with?
Yes, indeed. Who is Sean Kirkpatrick going to share this information with? I will be very curious to see who he shares it with and how he waters it down or obfuscates it in any way. Because, of course, that's what he's been doing since day one. he's only been responsible for two real things publicly. The U.A.P. report that came out a few months ago, which was nothing but lies. And, of course, the scientific paper that he co-wrote with Avi Loeb, which said that we must look at and study the UFO, U.A.P. phenomenon through the lens of conventional physics. In other words, he is trying to slow down the study of UFOs. That's what he used Avi Loeb to push forward. He was using Avi Loeb's veneer of respectability and his genuine respectability, but hoping it was going to elevate his agenda to slow down the study of UFOs by only looking at it through the lens of conventional physics. So I have no love for Sean Kirkpatrick. He could be a stand-up guy. He could turn a page and be better and transparent and actually want to tell the American people the truth, or he can continue down the way that he has been going. I don't see how he can reasonably become transparent after being very deliberately lying and obfuscating. He was doing that for a reason, whether it's his own reason or whether he's pushing a narrative that has been, he has been instructed to push, is hard to say. But if it's, for example, the control group that has been telling him to say these things and to do these things, are they suddenly not going to tell him that? I have a hard time believing that. So it's hard for me to understand how he could change course at this point. But we'll see. It's early days yet. James Fox also said something very interesting, that people behind closed doors talking about reverse engineering alien technology or non-human technology, if Sean Kirkpatrick and others don't disclose this to people, they might just go public with it. So I don't know how that would work. I mean, because I've heard some people that have been analyzing the language, the whistleblower protection language, and they're saying actually it's going to be very difficult for stuff like that to happen, even for people to testify behind closed doors at a certain level. So they seem to be suggesting that the whistleblower protection is really not as strong as it could be. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to pretend to understand the ins and outs of all of that. If any of you are attorneys or know somebody that has studied that in a professional way, please let me know. But it is encouraging to see how bold the advocates of disclosure are and how they're openly saying they're going to circumvent Congress and they're going to circumvent Sean Kirkpatrick if they stand in the way of being open and honest with the American people. It's also enormously exciting to see James Fox talk about walking people into labs to see this reverse engineering going on. That is actually happening right now. That seems to be what he's saying, that people with the right clearances are being shown these things, which is incredible because that's much further than, Admiral Tom Wilson ever got or Harry Reid ever got. They tried to get access to that stuff and they were told some stuff. Tom Wilson was told there was a reverse engineering program, but as far as I know, he wasn't taken to the lab and shown anything. He wanted to be. So that right there is a sign of some progress. Now, is it window dressing? Or are they just showing people what they want them to see? And the real stuff is somewhere else, Wright-Patterson, Lockheed, Area 51, wherever it is. I tend to think so. I don't think anybody is seeing anything really juicy, but they are seeing something. And it's really exciting. And I'll take what I can get on that. But James Fox isn't the only person saying this. There are others. There's Congress people talking about this stuff, and I've covered some of that. Garry Nolan is also talking about some of what he has learned, and he's actually part of it because he may have been responsible for entering the Admiral Wilson leak, the Eric Davis memo, into the record. And here he is commenting on that and some other stuff.
And recently we've heard inklings of potential new public hearings, and I just wondered if there was anything you could tell us about that. Have you heard anything behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, behind the scenes, yes. But I mean, I don't even have to go behind the scenes. I mean, it's public information now that several of the Congress people have talked openly about literally going to the Speaker of the House, McCarthy, and asking for these open hearings. We all know that some of the whistleblowers have stepped forward and done all of this, and talked about this. And I have a letter signed by 12 senators saying, we're doing this, right? I mean, I know
Love
as
it.
well behind the scenes of some of the heads of the intelligence agencies and DOD who've literally said, I won't repeat it because I've been asked not to, but some astounding conclusions. Oh my God, Ali, I will call you. I promise. He's a very good colleague. Has a fantastic, basically, cure for some cancers. So
you can pick up the phone. It's okay.
No, it's okay. We've known each other for 40 years. He can wait. So I think people just need to look 3 months ago as to how far it's come, and just take heart in the knowledge that there's a lot of people who have crossed over that threshold of wanting to move it forward. But I mean,
Right.
Back to this conversation here. Everybody involved knows that it's not just the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And yet we're being very careful not dancing too far over that line, because it'll scare the bejesus out of people if it gets too deep into the woo. And yet all of us know that the woo is just around the corner.
They can find that out on their own later.
They can find it, yeah.
I appreciate you answering that. Like I said, I would have got crucified if I didn't at least try. So thank you so much. You saved my bacon.
I'm going to ask one little follow-up question, though.
Please,
Garry.
please do.
Last time we found out that you may have been involved in some prep materials. You may have helped Mike Gallagher find out about the Wilson Davis memo, which got entered into the record. Can you say if you will be participating in any sort of briefings or providing white papers to any members of Congress beforehand?
I just shouldn't say anything.
Okay.
I've been asked, I think people can infer exactly what I mean when I say that. So,
You got it.
I am certainly not central to the ongoing narrative, and it could happen and continue without me. To the extent that I can help, I'm there.
I love that. He goes right for the woo-woo. That's what I love about Garry Nolan. He's not afraid to shy away from the woo-woo. He does not shy away from the woo-woo. And he talks about it every chance he gets. And I think that's so important, because that is so integral to all of this. The UFO phenomenon is just one subset of a much larger, more interesting phenomenon that's very metaphysical and very, it's all about the nature of reality. And so, UFOs are fascinating in and of themselves. You've got people from other worlds with crazy alien technology here doing stuff. And that's enormously fascinating in and of itself. But once you get beyond that, and that's just a subset in a much larger puzzle, it's just one piece in a big puzzle, and it all has to do with consciousness and the nature of reality and dimensions and all sorts of craziness. I just love that. It just fascinates me so much, and I want to understand what is the nature of reality and what is really going on. And that seems to be what interests Garry Nolan as well. So you go, Garry Nolan. Keep talking about what you're talking. I love it. Anyway, so that's some of the local news, so that's some of the recent news, is that we have people who have peeked behind the curtain about what's really going on in Washington, and they say that there is some huge progress being made. We actually have, the Admiral Wilson leak being entered into the public record that talks about reverse engineering UFOs, downed UFOs. And now we have James Fox saying, yeah, there are certain people with the right clearances that are actually being taken to the labs where this reverse engineering is taking place. That's huge. I love it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. And join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And yeah, check out some of my other videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.